This is an exciting moment to save the last best places in King County and make sure every community has access to green space. I created the Land Conservation Initiative. We inventoried the vital forests, the farmlands, the habitat most at risk, and came up with 65,000 acres across this county that we wanted to protect. I set the goal of conserving this land within a generation. Today, we mark an early action in this endeavor. It begins here. Take a look around. What you see, this vacant parcel surrounded by barbed wire fences and apartments that house dozens of families, many with kids who have no place to play. With the grass, with the mature trees, this place is an oasis. But for now, the children and families living here can't reach it. We intend to change that. We will work with Tukwila to tear down these fences and to open this oasis to all. And we will do more. We will save the forested lakeshore and trails of the former Weyerhaeuser campus in Federal Way. We will protect important river corridors like the Tolt River to sustain salmon and reduce flooding. We will acquire key parcels along the East Side Rail Corridor to help complete the trail between Renton and Redmond. We will protect farm and forest lands near Enumclaw to support clean air and water and recreation and our rural economy. All of this will be accomplished by legislation I am sending to the King County Council tomorrow. It will increase bond financing with the existing Conservation Futures Tax. This small existing property tax, under 4 cents for every $1,000 in value, was enacted by the King County Council way back in 1982 to help purchase and protect forests and shorelines and greenways and trails. I propose pulling forward nearly $150 million of those revenues over the next 4 years to protect thousands of acres of open space while we still can. The legislation will also remove Conservation Futures grant match requirements for creating new green space in neighborhoods like this one that don't have easy access to parks and to trails. In addition, today I'm announcing a new open space equity cabinet composed of community leaders and residents to help guide investments that eliminate open space inequities. Green space and open space, clean air and clean water, and the opportunity for a quiet place to reflect or take an uninterrupted walk, or a place to noisily play. These are core to our health and our quality of life. We need to make these investments in every part of our county. Saving these places and creating green space for all is important to our future, and it's as important as investments in affordable housing or in transportation or in any other aspect of infrastructure. In a rapidly growing region, we can and we must be able to do more than one of these things at a time. The Conservation Futures Tax is a tool that has protected trees and shorelines across this county. It helped protect the Duwamish Greenbelt, a slice of forest near where I grew up. In fact, it was fighting to save a little piece of that greenbelt to which I can trace my early activism and ultimately my entry into public service. 1 million more people reside here in King County than were here when the Conservation Futures Tax was first created. 1 million more reasons why we need to do more to protect and acquire and even create access to green spaces. I want to thank the community leaders who formed the Land Conservation Initiative Advisory Group, many of whom are here today, for their thoughtful and detailed recommendations on how and where to make these investments. The advisory group challenged us to approach open and green space conservation in a fundamentally new way. Here to say more is advisory group co-chair and Tukwila City Council member Deshawn Quinn. Deshawn.
Good afternoon. Today is a momentous day. It's the start of something big. Thanks to Executive Constantine for his leadership. I want to take a moment to recognize a council member and a former council member. Councilmember Katrina Doan from the city of Tukwila and former council member Pam Carter. I was compelled to be a part of shaping this initiative through my commitment to the environment and equity in my 10 years of service on the Tukwila City Council, seeing the value of parks and open space. I was compelled to bring equity into the land conservation dialogue, the principle that is built around a just, fair inclusion into society in which all can participate, prosper, and reach their full potential, unlocking the promise of our region and unleashing the promise in all of us. This is represented by the investments in open space and their neighborhoods. 2 years ago, a passionate teacher, Ms. Katrina Doan, brought to my attention the issue that her students who were living in these 3 apartments didn't have a safe place to go outside and play. You will find that this same story is across many neighborhoods in King County. It's not unique to Tukwila. There are deserts of open space throughout King County, most of them in communities with the greatest and the most acute needs, where people and children cannot safely walk to a patch of green or to relax, to de-stress, or to kick a ball around. I felt compelled to address this issue, and King County was and is ready and willing to take action to fix it. Because of this, I co-chaired the advisory group to this initiative alongside a very good friend who I have a lot of respect for, and I appreciate the work that we did together, Councilmember Larry Phillips. And other committed members, many of whom are here in the audience today. Together, we devoted time and energy over the past 2 years to come up with a framework to protect the region's remaining and most vital green spaces and trails for everyone within a generation. Today, we take action to make a down payment on the quality of life in our region. The legislation that Executive Constantine just announced provides Tukwila and many similar communities across King County a new path to access funding to purchase properties like what we are standing on today. It will allow communities to create new green spaces where they are needed the most. Tukwila has wanted to purchase this property since Ms. Doan brought it to the City Council's attention over 2 years ago. But funding has been a barrier. Tukwila did not have the available funds to meet the required 50% funding match in order to utilize the King County's Conservation Futures open space funding. This match requirement has been a barrier for many cities like Tukwila to make investments in open space where they are desperately needed. Now, with the removal of the local funding match for communities like this, Conservation Futures funding is accessible to Tukwila. And now we will take action to purchase this property and turn it into a park for this community. So the kids that you see around us will have a place to play, and the families that are nearby the park can relax. This is what it means when we say, we see you and you matter. Here to say more about the story behind this community and the property upon which we stand, Miss Katrina Doan, a teacher at Cascade View Elementary School, and La Luna, a student at Foster High School.
My name is Katrina Doan, and I don't even have words to say how exciting it is to be standing at this event today, to see this coming to fruition. We're here today to celebrate community at its absolute best. The community you see around you as you look around is made up of children and families from all over the world, refugees and immigrants who came here in search of a better and healthier lifestyle for themselves and their whole families. And I have the privilege of working with these young people at school, and I just have to tell you, they are amazing, amazing individuals. And I want to tell you the story of how we ended up here. 2.5 years ago, I was chaperoning a field trip, fairly ordinary experience for a teacher. And as we were riding, one of our young refugee students just happened to lean over the seat and said, "Miss Doan, can you help me with something about our apartments?" Well, my first thought being a teacher was, not so sure that's in my realm of influence, but I've learned to listen to these kids. And she said, "In our apartment, we're not allowed to play outside ever. And we're tired of being stuck inside, having to watch TV all the time." And I was stunned. I thought, in this day and age of screens, that's really stunning. They wanted to be outside. So I asked some more questions. And I went back to the school and I went to the student's teacher and said, "Oh my goodness, here's what I was told." And she checked with other students and came back and said, "Indeed, that is the case." And my thought was, heck no, not on my watch. I'm an outdoors person. I grew up playing outdoors. We know about the benefits of being outdoors. And so I started asking questions. And I called Deshawn, and I called our other city council members and said, "Is this legal? How can this be? We all know kids need to be outside running and playing to be healthy." And so we started exploring. And as Deshawn mentioned, the issue of finances came up inevitably, as it often does. I've not discovered the tree that grows money yet, unfortunately. But we pushed and we probed because everybody agreed that the need was so great for these kids to have a place to play. Well, time went on. I hadn't heard anything until 2 weeks ago when I got a phone call that has made me smile ever since. And that was the phone call about this initiative that Dow Constantine is working on. So from a student leaning over the bus, here we are. It took the work of her noticing an issue and seeking to help, going to our local government, exploring the problem and possible solutions, and getting up all the way up to county government. And here we are today to celebrate the potential solving of that problem brought forth by a child. That, to me, is how life in a community should work. That is grassroots efforts at its best. And I'd like to mention the young lady that started this whole thing is here today. I can't put her up front because she's a minor and because of photo releases, we can't do that. However, if you would like to meet this amazing lady after our ceremony, please let me know and I will introduce you. Because she deserves recognition. So because of this initiative, approximately 180 school-aged children living on this block alone, that's not counting the toddlers, that's not counting the older kids, 180 kids will now have a place to play outside, to be active, healthy, to build community with their friends and family. Not playing outside at all or playing in parking lots where they're dodging cars doesn't meet that goal. I think back to my childhood. Most of my childhood was spent playing outside with neighbor kids, building friendships and relationships, being creative, learning how to work together and having those occasional neighborhood arguments over game rules, and learning how to work that out. All of those are critical skills for development. And now these kids, many of whom you see here, will have that opportunity for that type of development as well. Thank you, Executive Constantine, for your forward-looking initiative that is going to have both immediate and long-range impact on the lives of so many people and families. This is truly a life-changing project. I'd like to close with one of my favorite quotes, a quote from Margaret Mead, one that I think captures the beauty of what has happened here so far and what is ahead. And that quote is this: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Thank you to everyone who has been and is going to be part of that group of thoughtful, committed citizens. You are changing the world of countless appreciative people who will enjoy this land for years to come. Thank you so much. And now I would like to introduce to you one of our residents, one of our high school seniors who's going to graduate in about a month. I'd like to introduce to you Laloon.
Thank you for being here today. I come from Myanmar. My family and I immigrated here 4 years ago. I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. I am the eldest one of my 7 siblings. We live here around one of these billionaire apartments, and our community, as we can see all those apartments, our community is around us. But we don't have a place for where we can easily gather with people around us. My 3 sisters, they always want to play every day. Sometimes they play in our parking lot, but they don't have fun because the cars are coming in and out. So they go to the Cascade View Park, crossing the streets. But I feel so worried to let them out because not just crossing one street, they need to cross 2 and 3 streets, so that is dangerous for them. So if we can cover this place to a park for our community, we will come together more, knowing each other more, and make more friends with people of colors. Also, it will benefit for parents that easy for them to look for after their kid. Also, they don't need to worry for their kids anymore because of kids are safe to play in the park here. So they won't have to play around the car in the parking lot. Thank you for giving a good place for our community.
You don't want to try my name.
Okay. I don't know if I can do some of these.
That's true. Well, thank you very much. My name is Rod Dombrowski, and I represent North Seattle and North King County on the County Council, and it's an honor to join you today, and particularly my former colleague, Councilmember Phillips, who, as he was getting ready to retire from the council, said, hey, Councilmember Dombrowski, you might want to sign on to this little land conservation initiative, and I joined him in that. And I tell you, I think it will be, and I've had the great honor to vote on a lot of important legislation, but I think this package of legislation and this initiative will be the most consequential and most far-reaching and most life-changing legislation that I will vote on as a King County Council member. And I'll tell you why. It's permanence. It's permanence, and it's permanence over the generations of changing lives. The Iroquois nation talked about the great rule of 7 generations and making decisions that are that have 7 generations down the road in thought. And that's what we're doing here with this initiative. We're looking not only about today's generations, but future generations, really forever. These 65,000 acres of lands, these special waters, the foothills, the urban parks that we're talking about will be forever. And will pay dividends generation after generation after generation. I chair the Board of Health for the county. And I will tell you that the kids growing up in this zip code right here, these young people that you're looking at, the statistics say, and we're going to beat these statistics, but they say they will live on average 10 years less than constituents growing up just up the road in Bellevue. And a lot of that has to do with the environment and the opportunities that they have. So if you listen here today, you're hearing the growth coming. The bulldozers are going, the jets are flying. More than 1 million people over the next 50 years will come here. 50 years ago, this year, we had Forward Thrust. Forward Thrust, one of its greatest accomplishments was preserving open space and lands. And I see myself a little bit in these kids here. My 3rd grade teacher, Miss Burney at Maplewood Heights Elementary, would walk us down to Maplewood Park when I was their age, just down the road. We had a park. And that park was funded with Forward Thrust money that the voters approved, that the leaders of this county envisioned to protect. And it's still there today, serving generations of kids. That's what we're talking about with this initiative. So, yesterday, I'll close with this in terms of permanence. I'm a small plane pilot, and I had an opportunity to take my dad, who's almost 90, to his hometown. We visited the cemetery, put flowers on his parents' graves, and we detoured coming back up over the Oregon coast. And he pointed out that the reason the Oregon coast looks like it does is because leaders of that state designated it a state highway, that anybody could access it and development wouldn't occur on it. And then we flew over Astoria, over the Lewis and Clark camp 200 years ago, and you could look and see the preservation and what they saw then. And because of initiatives by our national government and leaders in the parks movement like John Muir protected that. Those places are forever. The lands are forever and they're open to the public. That's what this initiative is about here in King County. 65,000 of our most precious acres, preserving it on an expedited basis. It's a tremendous credit to our county executive, to the committee that helped lead this from a citizen's perspective, to our incredible staff at the DNRP, Department of Natural Resources and Parks. This is a coming together, and the equity piece is really, really critical. Deshawn, outstanding leadership there. John Muir, the National Parks leader who protected so much of Alaska and Yosemite and California, talked about access and access for all for our parks. And that's what this is about. Let's get rid of that 10-year disparity in health outcomes. Let's make every community in King County healthy, and let's do it through this land conservation initiative. So thank you for the opportunity to join you. It's my pleasure now to introduce the mayor of Tukwila, Mayor Eckberg.
Thank you, Rob. Welcome, everybody. Mayor Eckberg, City of Tukwila. I'd like to point out we do have our Parks and Rec staff here, including our Parks and Rec Director, Rick Still, and our City Administrator, David Klein. The City of Tukwila is 110% behind Dow Constantine's legislative proposal. We stand here before united in that. Allow me to say a few words on behalf of the City of Tukwila, the Mayor's office, and the elected officials in our fine City of Tukwila. This conservative initiative is very important to the community, but more important, it's important to the folks that we've seen here today. Those behind us, those in front of us, the youth that we saw here, and the youth that we saw speak. Without them, a conservative initiative will not matter. What's it for? It's for the people and the benefit of the people, like this young child right here. As mentioned, there are many areas in the region that need these type of facilities. We've known about this for several years. We've worked hard to try to make this come to fruition. We're happy to be here standing before you today with the executive in the office that's going to bring this home. Thank you, Dow Constantine. We have lots of great parks. We are one of the cities in the nation that's working towards a 10-minute walk to parks in our city. Just this morning, we were recognized at having 74% of our population available to walk to parks in our city. But as we heard from the youth in our city, that there are some dangers in walking to parks. And we want to make sure parks are close enough, though those dangers aren't an obstacle, to come out and enjoy the weather like we're experiencing here today in the Puget Sound region. This conservation initiative that Dow has announced here in Tukwila to seek funds from King County to purchase this property and others throughout the region provides the link of necessity to the quality of life for all of us in the region. The City of Tukwila is very excited to be partnering with King County and the Trust for Public Lands on this initiative. It is an opportunity that we share with you, and we look forward to the benefits to come to those around us. Allow me now to take a moment to introduce the David Patterson of Trust and Public Lands. Sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Dave Patton with the Trust for Public Land. Thank you all for being here. First, I want to thank the executive for the foresight to kick off this campaign nearly 2 years ago, and to thank Councilmember Quinn and Councilmember Phillips for driving the group, driving the advisory committee to come up with a visionary yet achievable goal and plan for us to help preserve the quality of life for present generations, but more importantly, for future generations. So thank you for that. As we think about the Trust for Public Land, we have a goal of creating parks and conserving land for future generations to ensure healthy, livable communities for all. For us, that includes urban spaces, pocket parks. It also includes wilderness and national parks. As the mayor mentioned, we have a national campaign called the 10-Minute Walk Campaign. We want to ensure that every American and everyone here in King County lives within a 10-minute walk of a really high-quality park where they can spend time with family and friends and enjoy the natural environment. I want to thank the mayor and the City of Tukwila for signing up to the 10-Minute Walk Pledge, which is a commitment to break down that gap. In King County in general, more than 25% of the residents don't live within a 10-minute walk. We need to work hard to close that gap, and this initiative is an important tool to allow us to be able to do that. So thank you. And finally, I want to also just mention that this initiative is wide-ranging. We've talked a lot about the importance of urban open space, and it's critical for our residents of this county. But I also want to mention that it's important for us to preserve the forests and farms that are out in our county helping provide jobs and recreation. I also want to recognize the trails in our region and the waterways that we have to conserve so that we can prepare for the future generations that are here and that are moving here, and so that we can have the quality of life that we all enjoy today and retain that into the future. So with that, thank you so much. I'll turn it back over to the executive.
So, in conclusion, this region has a long and proud history of recognizing the importance of protecting the things that we all value together. Rod mentioned the forward thrust measures in the late 60s that started us on the path to open space preservation. The farmland preservation work in the late 1970s, the open space bond issue in 1989, and of course the conservation futures tax, which has been in place over 35 years now, which has allowed us to move methodically year after year to protect lands. We are in a different time now. We're in a time of unprecedented rapid growth and a real estate market that is making the land more and more expensive and less available each year. Now is a time for us to take those tools we already have and use them to greatest effect to preserve these open spaces before they are gone. I am so excited by the work done by this oversight committee and so excited by the work that the county council is going to do to put us in a position to accelerate our work to pass on to the next generation the kind of place that we have all enjoyed. I want to thank you for being here and be happy to take any questions you might have.
As you know, this is also a time where there are some really pressing needs for the county. Respond to those who would say, how can you find money for open space when you struggle to find money for fixing the roads or dealing with homelessness?
So the question is about whether this is something we should be doing now with other pressing needs. The Conservation Futures Tax is a fund, a very small tax that comes every year that is limited in its purposes to preserving and restoring lands. And so we have an opportunity now to bring forward money from the future within that conservation futures pot, and to accomplish more than we would be able to accomplish if we kept buying year after year. This commitment to preserve these 65,000 acres in a generation, if we did not take the action I'm proposing today, it would take 75 years and cost an additional $15 billion to preserve the lands. So this is a smart thing to do because we'll realize the value for all of our people sooner, but it also is simply a question of dollars and cents, that we will be able to do this less expensively and more effectively if we act now rather than waiting. Others? Well, all the folks here will be available to answer additional questions. I know there are people from our Department of Natural Resources and Parks available as well. I want to thank you for being here. This is an exciting moment for this county. If we are able to successfully preserve these last best places, create these trails, save the farms, and create open space for the next generation of kids, we truly will have left this place better than we found it. This is our chance to pay it forward. Thank you so much.